ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. ثم إنكم بعد ذلك لميتون ثم إنكم يوم القيامة تبعثون. ولقد خلقنا فوقكم 7 طرائق وما كنا عن الخلق غافلين. وأنزلنا من السماء ماء بقدر فأسكناه في الأرض وإنا على ذهاب به لقادرون. فأنشأنا لكم به جنات من نخيل وأعناب لكم فيها فواكه كثيرة ومنها تأكلون.
رحم الله معيد الفاتحة.
وشجرة تخرج من طور سيناء تنبت بالدهن وصبغ للآكلين. وإن لكم في الأنعام لعبرة نسقيكم مما في بطونها ولكم فيها منافع كثيرة ومنها تأكلون وعليها وعلى الفلك تحملون. ولقد أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه فقال يا قوم اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره أفلا تتقون. فقال الملأ الذين كفروا من قومه ما هذا إلا بشر مثلكم يريد أن يتفضل عليكم ولو شاء الله لأنزل ملائكة ما سمعنا بهذا في آبائنا الأولين. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم.
الله معيد الفاتحة.
أحسنت.
هذا واحد الحين ابغى 40 سنه قاعد في الصفحه ابغى 40 سنه تخلي هذا بعد 14 سنه ثاني عشان كذا شلون كذا عشان النسوان تكون
ما لازم هنا يعني ما يصير بالسنه.
مساوين لك. اي هذه الجزمار هم اليوم خلوا النسوان بس صاروا نصف المجتمع. يعني هي
هذه عظيمة. سلام محمد الله يرحمه ويجزاه برحمته ويجزاه محمد وآل محمد. السلام تعالي فطن.
لا موجود بس الزحمة.
بابا don't come here. Go upstairs. يلا go upstairs. اشتغل. ما عندي شيء بعد. بطم شوي.
رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة.
أحسن. كمل الآية. أحب جي يسكتني بعد السيد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه فقال يا قوم اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره أفلا تتقون. فقال الملأ الذين كفروا من قومه ما هذا إلا بشر مثلكم يريد أن يتفضل عليكم ولو شاء الله لأنزل ملائكة ما سمعنا بهذا في آبائنا الأولين إن هو إلا رجل به جنة فتربصوا به حتى حين. قال رب انصرني بما كذبون. فأوحينا إليه أن اصنع الفلك بأعيننا ووحينا فإذا جاء أمرنا وفارت النور النور فاسلك فيها من كل زوجين اثنين وأهلك إلا من سبق عليه القول منهم ولا تخاطبني في الذين ظلموا إنهم مغرقون. فإذا استويت أنت ومن معك على الفلك فقل الحمد لله الذي نجانا من القوم الظالمين وقل رب أنزلني منزلا مباركا وأنت خير المنزلين. إن في ذلك لآيات وإن كنا لمبتلين. ثم أنشأنا من بعدهم قرنا آخرين فأرسلنا فيهم رسولا منهم أن اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره أفلا تتقون. وقال الملأ من قومه الذين كفروا وكذبوا بلقاء الآخرة وأترفناهم في الحياة الدنيا ما هذا إلا بشر مثلكم يأكل مما تأكلون منه ويشرب مما تشربون ولئن أطعتم بشرا مثلكم إنكم إذا لخاسرون. أيعدكم أنكم إذا متم وكنتم ترابا وعظاما أنكم مخرجون. هيهات هيهات لما توعدون. إن هي إلا حياتنا الدنيا نموت ونحيا وما نحن بمبعوثين. إن هو إلا رجل افترى على الله كذبا وما نحن له بمؤمنين. قال رب انصرني بما كذبون. قال عما قليل ليصبحن نادمين. فأخذتهم الصيحة بالحق فجعلناهم غثاء فبعدا للقوم الظالمين. ثم أنشأنا من بعدهم قرونا آخرين ما تسبق من أمة أجلها وما يستأخرون. ثم أرسلنا رسلنا تترى كلما جاء أمة رسولها كذبوه فأتبعنا بعضهم بعضا وجعلناهم أحاديث فبعدا لقوم لا يؤمنون. ثم أرسلنا موسى وأخاه هارون بآياتنا وسلطان مبين إلى فرعون وملئه فاستكبروا وكانوا قوما عالين. فقالوا ونؤمن لبشرين مثلنا وقومهما لنا عابدون. فكذبوهما فكانوا من المهلكين. ولقد آتينا موسى الكتاب لعلهم يهتدون. وجعلنا ابن مريم وأمه آية وآويناهما إلى ربوة ذات قرار ومعين. يا أيها الرسل كلوا من الطيبات واعملوا صالحا إني بما تعملون عليم. وإن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاتقون. فتقطعوا أمرهم بينهم زبرا كل حزب بما لديهم فرحون. فذرهم في غمرتهم حتى حين. أيحسبون أنما نمدهم به من مال وبنين نسارع لهم في الخيرات بل لا يشعرون. إن الذين هم من خشية ربهم مشفقون والذين هم بآيات ربهم يؤمنون والذين هم بربهم لا يشركون والذين يؤتون ما أتوا وقلوبهم وجلة أنهم إلى ربهم راجعون أولئك يسارعون في الخيرات وهم لها سابقون. ولا نكلف نفسا إلا وسعها ولدينا كتاب ينطق بالحق وهم لا يظلمون. بل قلوبهم في غمرة من هذا ولهم أعمال من دون ذلك هم لها عاملون. حتى إذا أخذنا مترفيهم بالعذاب إذا هم يجأرون. لا تجأروا اليوم إنكم منا لا تنصرون. قد كانت آياتي تتلى عليكم فكنتم على أعقابكم تنكصون مستكبرين به سامرا تهجرون أفلم يدبروا القول أم جاءهم ما لم يأت آباءهم الأولين. سيد حسن. أم لم يعرفوا رسولهم فهم له منكرون. علي شوف سيد حسن لما تبع ها؟ وين الأحد هذا؟ يا جعفر الأحد موجود ولا مو موجود؟ سيد على أساس أقرأ دقيقتين. خلاص. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. رحم الله معيد الفاتحة على روح الحاج أحمد العالي.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So we're gonna start today. Firstly, we want to welcome our special guest, the counselor, Shahmaya. Yeah, welcome. Thank you. Welcome. Yeah. Please come.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to this House of Wisdom, and hopefully some of the wisdom rubs off on me, because I'm sure I'm in need of some. Lovely to see you all. Are you all mainly residents of Somerstown, or are you all from different areas? Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, lovely to see you. I'm here to say a few words, and will happily take any of your questions later. I'm not a man of too many words, but I'll talk a little bit about something that I actually do know a little bit about in terms of local politics, if that's all right with you. What I would do is, what I would first of all try and do is encourage people to get involved in the local politics that and in the areas that you actually live in. People say, well, politics, I'm not interested. But the very same people who say, I'm not interested in politics, are the very same people who come over and say, oh, my children's schools, my roads, my housing issues, and all these things. My children's school teachers are not very good, or I'm not happy with this or that. Sadly, this is all about politics. And if you are not involved in politics, other people will make decisions on your behalf. And they won't necessarily be to your advantage. So in essence, if you want to change your life for the better, you have to be in the room to make the decisions for yourself. I would urge you to join the Labour Party. But it's up to you if you want to join the Conservative Party or the Lib Dems or any other particular party that you feel inclined to join. In my view, the Labour Party provides the best possible solutions for the problems that we face in our country at the moment. And a lot of the big problems that have been caused by the Conservative Party and their particular ideology. As I'm sure you're all aware at the moment, we've had 4 prime ministers in the last sort of year already, and many more chancellors. They have a particular a view on how they want to create our society, and we have a different particular view. But I think our views, the Labour Party views, are more aligned to the interests of minorities and the greater population of this country. What I would urge you to do is join your local Labour Party or any party which you want, and get elected to positions, and climb the greasy pole, as it were. We have politicians like Suella Braverman, Priti Patel. These are not very talented people individually. Even if I say so myself, I'm not particularly talented myself. However, how did they get to that position? They climbed that particular road, and then they were in a position to literally say that in public that they dream about deporting people to the most vulnerable people who have come over into this country from the utmost horrific situations, and they're just trying to make a better life for themselves and their families. Precisely what Priti Patel's parents did and Suella Braverman's parents did, and now they want to take that ladder up and say, "I'm okay, Jack, but not for you." And the same people who the same political party and the same generation who benefited from free education, grants for their living, no tuition fees, are the same people who say, "No, we cannot afford to have the same for our children." Now, when we are the 5th, 6th richest country on earth, this is not a factual statement in a sense, it's a political choice. They make that political choice on our behalf because they're in a position to do so. So if you would like to be in that position to make sure that your society and your children and people who follow after you do not suffer the policies that these people want to offer, there's only one cohort of people you can do it yourself. So you have to, if you're not in the position, you cannot make that decision. So this is, I urge people to get involved. And the power of numbers will tell. I kid you not. People say there are only 12–14% of the British population which are not indigenous born and bred. But that still leaves about 7 million people who are not actively participating in politics. And just imagine those numbers if they voted, and people who got involved in politics and to change, and literally, if you get elected as a councillor, a few of your friends and your colleagues with similar mindset get involved, you will change your area because you will have the power and the authority to do so. You will have the elected mandate to do so. And then you can climb up further. If you want to become MPs, you can coalesce around one person and support them, and they can become MPs, and they will have a voice. That will be their voice in Parliament for your own people. So, as they say, you know what is best for your own situation and your own community, and the best people to make the decision for your own community is yourself. So, here we are. If anybody has any questions, I'll happily take your question.
Yeah, I think we're going to start the Q&A now. So
Sure.
Anyone has any questions?
So is this a party political podcast?
Not really. In a sense, I'm just based. It's as I said. You can join if you're a conservative. You're conservative-minded, and you feel that you're perfectly happily. Please go ahead. Lib Dems, Greens, whichever party aligns to your particular ideology. Please go ahead, join. But I would urge you to join nonetheless.
How can we ensure that Keir Starmer will not be another Tony Blair?
Because I know Keir Starmer personally. He's a decent human being. Before he became leader, I campaigned for him. He's our local MP. I've known him long before he was my background is a legal background. I've known him as the director of public prosecutions, and he was one of the best director of public prosecutions. Look, he's a human being. And I'm a member of his party. I'm a councillor in his party. I do not agree with 100% of everything. I have very few people who will agree 100% with their own fathers, with their own wives, and with their own children. As long as I think in generally you agree with 80-90% of a particular policy of a party, I think we're good. There is not a single political party where every wing agrees with every party political position that they take. But I can assure you, Keir Starmer is a decent human being, has the best interest for the greater majority of the people that are there. He is not there for the 1%. I'm not saying he will abandon the 1%. What I'm saying is he is there for the working class and the Labour people. And everybody, they don't have to be Labour voters. I'm just saying, generally, the greater good of the people, in my view.
Thank you so much. Thank you. To be honest, I'm extremely concerned about Keir Starmer as a leader as well, because if he does this to people like to his former boss, if he does this to Jeremy Corbyn, why would we trust someone? Why would we trust someone who does this to his own former boss? I mean, it's really, really seriously concerning to elect a Labour that does seem to me really going through the right wing and demolishing anyone who is even thinking to be left or to be social or to be supportive of Palestine.
Yeah.
This is really a major concern to us.
So I'll take that in 2 or 3 parts. First, when a new leader comes into any political party, they tend to try and make their own mark. And it's usually the case the previous leader disagrees with the new leader. It's very rare where you have a change of leader for a political party where everybody agrees with what the new leader is doing. This is a natural political thing, in my view. Mr. Keir Starmer is doing what he thinks is best for the country. There are people in the Labour Party who may disagree with him, however, and there may be people in the general public disagree. But he's doing it from a good faith basis. He thinks his policies are the best policies for the general population, for the UK, and for the Labour Party and members of the Labour Party. We may disagree, that's fair enough, that's absolutely not a problem, and that is right and proper in a democratic society. But but I can assure you he's coming from a good faith position. And this label that, he's unless he agrees to nationalize everything in the first 3 weeks of his administration, he's a right-winger, I don't quite accept that.
So we're going to take another question. Because Said, we don't have enough time. I'm sorry for that.
Sure.
But
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Yeah. One of the question about the crime rate.
The crime rate?
Yes, and also about living standard, poverty and living standard.
Before you start, we're not in power. So
I don't.
With all the best will in the world, we can't really do much about it.
As a politician, you have promises, you have made a lot of promises, and even the Tory have done that. Unfortunately, crime rate in your agenda and your political, list. However, the crime rate is heavy, getting bad, especially in where we are. Also, poverty. Poverty are increasing. People are suffering, starving, homelessness, and so on.
Yeah.
This need to be as a concern.
Sure.
Also, one more question I have on my behalf of my gentleman there. He asked a question, if he want to return back to where he come from, is there any intensive for him to get back home? Thanks very much.
Thank you. I'll take the first question first. The points that you're making, your initial points, those are, to be honest, they are beyond my pay grade. I'm a local councillor, but what I'm saying is the crime rates, although crime rates are high, historically, historically they are on a lower level. However, I'm not saying that that we have the answers to eliminate all crime. There are what breeds crime? Poverty tends to breed a certain type of crime. Hopelessness, disposition, hopelessness, these things contribute to those things. We have a society now where literally, where you have a government which is going and saying, yes, we should cut taxes for the top 1%, and it will benefit the lowest 90%. You know that is not the truth. It never has worked, never will work. And when people are desperate and literally cannot feed their children, cannot feed themselves, clothe themselves, pay their rent, pay their whatever, they're on the street. It is, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's a reasonably foreseeable thing that crime will increase. So to be fair, the blame has to be laid at where it really belongs. In 12 years of mismanaged country by the Conservatives. When Labour was last in government in 2000, what was the crime rate? The crime rate was less than half of what it is today. Demographics have changed, but economics also matter. When people are homeless or hopeless, things tend to degenerate a bit.
We're going to move to the last question from Dr. Jafar.
Thank you very much for being here. You're very welcome to be here.
Thank you.
Two questions. One of them is regarding the situation in this area, in the Camden, in this area. We are suffering from the transportation really over here. What plans do you have to improve the situation? The second question is that, the inflation is very high and the economic problem. What programs as a councillor or the council would you present to ease the situation, the economic situation on the people? Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I'll take that in reverse. With regards to the cost of living issues, Camden Council, I think we've got just over £1 million from there. We are there are grants of 600. Sorry, just over £1 million, I think.
Do you mind if I
Yeah, please.
Apologies, I'm one of Charles' colleagues
here,
so also a councillor. Yes, so we put £1 million into programmes, discretionary payments going directly to people. So either it's council tax rebate, what people are paying, and then there's also
fuel.
Specific cost, the fuel payments, and also a specific cost of living payment, hardship payment that people can apply for directly, up to £150. So that's going directly to people. Now, that's not what we should be doing as a council. That's actually meant to be for central government, but that's what we're doing locally because we are lucky enough to have the funds to do it. Sorry, Sharon.
So, just conscious of time. If you go into the Camden website, there are payments for food, fuel bills, pensioners. There's a £90, as well as some food vouchers and things. So there's a lot of information there, and you can access it. And if you're on benefits, most people will apply. Secondly, with regards to the transport, it's not wholly a council issue. It's also the mayors and the TfL and central government as well. There's a general plan. We also have international treaty obligations, that are the Kyoto problems and Kyoto Protocol, as well as many other. If you ask doctors and nurses in it, we have tens of thousands of early deaths in London alone every year due to pollution. We are trying to reduce pollution in our cities and and the level of asthma and things like that in children are just rocketing. So I understand the issues with, especially if you're working as a courier or a taxi driver or a delivery driver, or having a small business trying to get deliveries. We completely understand. We're in the process of speaking to the person in charge of that, because I understand there's a lot of road closures and issues. There is a master plan. We only have a limited influence as councillors. There are TfL as well as central government as well as other bodies in regards to that. It is a complicated thing, but we, Edmund, I, and Samata are doing our absolute best to make sure that our residents, their lives are better, but without actually disturbing their livelihoods. So that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Most welcome.
And I apologize to everyone, especially Sayyid Ahmed, I apologize to you because we have a very short time.
Thank you very much for your time. Very kind. Most welcome.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you.
We wish you could join us for dinner.
It smells absolutely delicious. Do you want? Are you live in Camden though?
Yeah.
Do you want me to give you my card before I go? Contact me. They're in my coat pockets. Just keep that over there. We're back in 2 seconds.
Yeah. I think you're going to get one more. I want to get one. لا فاطمة.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
This? Like this? You put it in the middle.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like okay. This is good. Can you see? Can you see? Can you see like this? Do you want to sit next to it, or it's going to be weird? Should I sit on this one?
Is it going to be? It's going to be difficult if you're the presenter. It's okay.
It's fine. You can go on the side. Yeah. It's fine. We do just this way. Let her come here so she can see the slides.
Can you be in the middle?
No, I'm doing most of the slides anyway. Exactly.
Questions are going to be at the end, right? Questions are going to be at the end.
I don't know if they're going to be able to
Scan it.
scan it. I'll let them know.
Tell the youth to come in. Huh? Tell the youth to come in.
Yeah, that's something you
Shut
can
up.
go upstairs.
Oh, no, don't actually go. Just tell them on the mic.
Yeah, on the mic.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Yeah, even the youth, where is the boys? The boys as well. The younger boys. Behind them. Where's your brother?
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So today we're planning to, inshallah, talk about choosing the right career path. So the way we're going to do it is that we have Jinan and Fatima. So Jinan is going to focus more on university, applying for university and the process, the journey through university. And Fatima is going to focus more on the overall process of career paths and working as well. So I just want to give a bit of introduction. We're going to start off with Fatima, right? And just introduction to Fatima. So Fatima has a degree in computer science. She has been working for 8 years, and she's currently working as a product specialist. And I just want to say one thing, is if you have any questions, please do leave them till the end, okay? Unless you need clarification on anything, and then we'll be happy to clarify. Do you want to get?
Yeah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I'm gonna, just before I talk, there isn't a right or wrong answer to careers. It's very personal to everyone. This is more of what it is, or what are the right tips to kind of do to get to that, to the beginning of that journey. So there isn't a right and wrong answer, and we're just trying to help you here today. So I don't know if you would be able to scan this, but if you do scan it, you'd be able to ask questions anonymously or even with your name. But if it's easier for you to ask questions on your phone, then you can, if you feel shy to ask questions. So if you try and scan it, I don't know, let me know if it works. If it doesn't, then we'll just have Q&A in the end. So right at the beginning, where do you start? So maybe you were in year 1 when someone told you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or even younger than that. And the first answer would be, I don't know, whatever you were doing at that time. And it doesn't mean it was the right answer, but to me, I was an astronaut, actually. So this picture is quite relevant. Obviously, I'm not an astronaut today. I chose a really different career path. But it's right at the beginning where we form our ideas of where we want to be when we grow up. And sometimes the ideas that are bestowed upon us by our maybe society or by our parents or by our friends kind of shapes what we want to be. So a lot of the time when we were younger in schools, it was like, let's bring in policemen and teachers and, you know, all these different types of public sector jobs and put them in front of you and say, this is what you want to be when you grow up. But it's not just that. There's so many jobs out there, right? There's so many jobs, and it's not just about being a teacher or a policeman or being something in the society. So where do I start? And that's probably the hardest question. And I'd say if you go back to, I think around, if you're 12, 13, when you're coming towards your GCSE, that's the time when you should start thinking about something or something you want to study. And it's what you have to look at exactly is what is your personality? What are the skills that you have? And obviously you have no skills at that age, but every personality fits a different type of career. So you have to look at what do you enjoy doing? What is it that you are kind of obsessing about at that time? Is it something to do with science? Is it something to do with technology? But also exploring, because there's a lot of resources out there, right? There's a lot of things on websites. There's a lot of different things that are things like technology. You've got science. You've got there's a wide range of resources out there. But you need to look at your personality and see where it fits. And there's this thing called the Myers-Briggs indicator test, and that's actually relevant to the younger kids. So if you try and do it, it tells you what your personality is. And by doing that, you know what your strengths are. So what are your strengths and weaknesses? And using those strengths and weaknesses and trying to apply them to a career that can suit you best, right? So some people are more hands-on. They like to learn. They're not gonna be okay in a 9-to-5 job sitting in an office all day. It's not gonna work for them. Yeah. So that's the things that you need to think about when you start to think about your personality. So there's this famous word, it's Japanese, it's called the ikigai. There's a book about it if you want to read. But it's basically, when you're coming to think about your career, you need to think about 3 different things. And what is it that the world needs at the moment, right? So when I came to pick my career, my story is very, very, you know, it's all over the place. I went back to Bahrain from being in London up until year 9, and then I went to Bahrain, and I went to a public school in Bahrain, so I kind of moved completely into Arabic world, and I did business, and I didn't like business, but I just did it because it was the easiest option. So at that point, I was like, what do I need to do? Where can I get into? And I liked a bit of tech because I'm not a boring person. Or not a boring, sorry, I don't want to judge anyone, but I'm not like the type that could sit there and just read all day and do research forever. So I do like tech a bit, but I didn't know if I liked it or not. But I was looking at what the sector needs. So what is there in the market? What is required? And there's a lot of stuff required out there, and technology is one of them, right? So I was like, okay, I can do tech, and I know it pays well, and I don't know I'm gonna be good at it or not, but it's something I can try. And obviously, once I tried it, I was good at it. But it doesn't mean that you will always pick the right thing, right? So this ikigai concept can be applied wherever you are in your journey. So you can change your mind after a few years and say, I don't want to do this anymore, but you just go back to your core skills and see where you can transfer those skills and apply them to a role. So you're already thinking, now what does that mean for me? So things to look at, UK talent shortages. There's a skills gap in the industry. And these things they don't tell you at school, but employers are finding it really difficult to find the talent they need. and it just increases year on year. So if you go and read into what are the things or what are the roles that are in demand at the moment. So these are the top 5 in-demand roles at the moment in the UK. You've got IT and data, you've got front office, customer-facing roles, administrative roles, sales and marketing, and operations and logistics. So if you have skills that fit into these roles, then you can start thinking about these roles from today, right? You just see where you can, what would you like to do, and can it fit into those roles, and then you can start that journey there. But you know there's a gap in this industry, and they're trying to fill it, so you know that there are jobs and vacancies available. So don't go into a role where you will end up not having a job because there's too many people in that sector. So most employable degrees in the UK, you've got education, nursing and midwifery. So these are things where you are probably guaranteed a job once you've studied, right? Because they need these people. So education is basically being a teacher. Once you've done the degree, you can straight away get into being a teacher. Nursing and midwifery, you're kind of working at while you're doing nursing and midwifery anyway, and then once you graduate, you are technically guaranteed a role. Dentistry, and I've put the figures next to that, what are the starting salaries in those areas. You've got medicine as well, and obviously medicine is probably the most difficult because it takes long, and then once you graduate you become obviously a doctor, but then you have to specialize in that area, so it's a long journey in medicine. So what do I do with all this data? And where, you know, once I've read about all this information, what do I do? And this is me talking about pre-university, right? So you look at all these things and then you decide what kind of degree you want to do. And if you look at the options once you get to university age, you've got a degree or apprenticeship. And a lot of people don't know what an apprenticeship is because it's quite a new, it's not new, it's been there for a few years. I didn't know once I graduated from school, I didn't know anything about apprenticeships. If I had known, I would have done an apprenticeship because the amount of student loan I'm paying, or the debt I'm paying on student loan is crazy. And it comes out of your income directly every month. So whatever you're getting, there's a chunk that gets paid out if you're not self-employed, obviously. But if you work, HMRC takes that directly from your payroll. So, but again, it depends on you, what you want to study. So some degrees you can do as an apprenticeship, so you can get apprenticeship and a degree at the same time. So for example, I work for Cisco, and they offer apprenticeships, and they're 3 years, but at the same time you're studying a degree. So you get a computing background degree, whatever it is you're doing, and then you're also working, and you're also getting paid a salary, and then you graduate with a degree. And some people say, maybe I just want to do apprenticeship. You can also do just the apprenticeship without the degree, so you can just work straight away with them and then continue working without getting a degree if you don't want to do the studying bit. And some people will say, is that okay or not? And I would say it depends on your circumstance. So if you're going back to Bahrain maybe, or somewhere, if you think of working abroad in the future, some companies will always say they want a degree, right? It's always a tick in the box, they want a degree. In the UK, most companies are going away from that. They do ask for years of experience or a degree, so they do, because they do identify that apprenticeships are quite important. And then again, are you a person that likes research? Are you going to do something like medicine, for example, where you have to have a degree because you can't go into medicine and do an apprenticeship, for example? So it really depends on the degree you choose, but there are options in both, and keep your options open. So when you're applying, apply for apprenticeship and a degree, so you can check all the different companies, and they have different roles in that area. So yeah, so I'm going to hand over now to Jinan, so she can give her experience in. Okay.
Before I introduce our next speaker, I just had a comment to make about one of the things that you said about choosing the first time we think about what we want to be is when we were a child. I think sometimes some people don't even think about that. Like I felt like as a child I didn't know. Or maybe I did think about it, but I can't remember. Or some children aren't ambitious. Like for example, my son wants to be a taxi driver.
Oh, my son.
What does he want to be?
A bus driver.
A bus driver, yeah. Something about vehicles. yeah, so I feel like there's not a point where you're like, I know what I want to be and that's what I want to be. I feel like, I mean, that's very rare. And even when you're deciding what your career path is, you know, sometimes you have to make that decision at such a young age. Like you're still in college, and like even my friend who ended up doing medicine, she was like she had to decide when she was still in secondary school, because that's when you have to start thinking about the different tests and stuff like that. So she was like, it's such a big decision to make at such a young age. So I'll be interested in hearing some of your views as well. Yeah, what are your views like later on, inshallah, at the end? Please do share. And your own experiences. But, so just to introduce our next speaker, Jinan. She has an MSci in human genetics, and she's been working for 3 years, and she is currently working as a genomics technician. So yeah, it sounds fancy.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about my experience and try and give you advice through my experiences. So before university, I was reading about like what I wanted to do in the future. And because we come from Bahrain, and Bahrain has a lot of genetic diseases, as we all know, like sickle cell and thalassemia. So I wanted to do something that hopefully I can help our people in the future. But also, I really enjoyed biology, and I looked into biology and I saw that genetics was a growing field. So I wanted to go into something where I can guarantee myself a job in the future. So whilst in university, before going to university, I think it's really important to get as much work experience as possible to understand what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. So work experience that I got before university was in the Natural History Museum, and I worked with marine biology, and I really didn't enjoy it at all. So that showed me that I don't want to go into marine biology. And although I didn't enjoy it, it gave me a lot of skills and things I can write in my personal statement for university. So I think whatever work experience you do, it'll be helpful even if you don't enjoy it, to know what you want to do in the future. It's really important to read as much as you can about like different things you can do, because there's so many jobs out there that we don't know about, that we can do and we probably might be good at. Go to university open days, ask lots of questions, ask people who are older than you what they did. So I got a lot of advice from Fatima when I was younger, about why. What?
I feel old now.
Yeah, because she's a few years older than me. So I feel like in our community we have a lot of people with good experience. They've gone into different fields. We've got like lawyers, dentists, and we should really like take advantage of this and ask people, and everyone will be happy to help. Also, it's really advantageous that we're from a minority background, and because we're from a minority background, there's a lot of opportunities that are open to us when we're in school. So when I was in university, I was working with minority backgrounds and people from low-income backgrounds who were able to do like study in university whilst they were in school to get experience. And this sort of experience really helps you write your personal statement and gives you an idea of what university life is like. So really take advantage of that and sign up to these things. And there's a lot of money out there as well for minority backgrounds that we can take advantage of. Also, I highly recommend doing Arabic A-level. I know we all hate like learning Arabic growing up, but Arabic A-level is really useful in the future. Like you're bilingual, so you can take advantage of this. And universities really appreciate the fact that you have another language. And it also makes you different from everyone else. Like if you've got 4 A-levels instead of 3, and it shows that you're able to put in that extra effort. So during university, I wanted to say that it's not all about studies. Like we don't just want to focus on studies, because in university we have a lot of time to do different things to build our character and build our skill set. So it's really important to do internships in the summer breaks. You get a really long summer break when you're in university. Like you finish exams in May, June, and you've got till like September, end of September to get internships and work experience. And this will also help you in the future to find a job, because if you found an internship in a certain company, it's more likely you'll get employed by that company after you graduate. Also work whilst you're in university, gain that experience, so you have something to talk about in interviews. So even if you think it's not relevant, it usually is, because it shows you can take that skill and put it in a different job. And do volunteering. Volunteering is really important. You've got time for it, and you get student finance, so you don't really need that much money at that time. So volunteering is really useful at that age. Another important aspect is networking, getting to know people who can help you in the future find a job. On Facebook, there's a group called Shia Professionals in London. So that's a really useful group to be a part of. Lots of people put jobs up there that you can apply for, but also you can ask people on there if they have like work experience roles or any advice, because they're older people who have gone through what we were going through or what you're going through. There's also lots of free online courses that you can do whilst you're in university. Coding is really important now. Like lots of jobs require coding, and even if you don't do it in university, you can practice it by yourself. There are lots of courses on Open University, Future Learn, Code Academy, and all of these are really helpful for Code Academy. It's a free online platform where you can learn coding. Programming, sorry. So you know IT and stuff. So I do genetics, but now in my role, coding is really important, and you're working with big data sets. So programming is a really useful skill to have in whatever role you do. So after university, there's lots of different options after university. A popular one is doing a graduate program. Graduate programs are really useful because it's like a 2-year program where you can do different jobs within that company and learn about what you like and what you don't like. The problem with graduate programs is that they're very, very competitive, and the application process is long, so you need to start this application whilst you're in university during exams. But it gives you like a clear path you can go down if you're still unsure, and it's a rotation, so you can like check out different roles within the industry you want to work in. A really useful program that I was applying for is called the Scientist Training Program, and this is with the NHS. And the Scientist Training Program has so many different routes you can go down. So you can go down like genomics, physiology, life sciences, like different roles. It's again a long application process, but it's a 3-year program where you can do work-based learning, and you also get a master's at the end of it, and you get paid to do so. So it's a really nice program to go through. You're guaranteed a job at the end of it, and you get paid and a master's. So if anyone wants to get into science, it's a really good program to go to try and apply for, and you can gain experience whilst you're in university to help your application. Internships. Although internships don't pay a lot after university, usually when you've done that internship, the company will hire you for a long-term job. So even if you don't find a proper job, as they call it, you can always do an internship until you find something you like, and that company will know you and you'll be able to get a longer-term job there. You can also just get a standard entry-level role, or go into further studies like PhD or Masters. So once I graduated, I really struggled to find a job. So I initially went into special educational needs learning support, which has nothing to do with genetics. But it really taught me patience and teaching, and these were skills that really helped me with my job today. It was one of the reasons they employed me, because so now my job is a genomics technician in a new genetics company where we're building up the lab from scratch. So having the skills of teaching and having patience really was like good for my employer. They saw that I'll be able to teach new recruits, I'll be able to help them develop within the company. So all these skills are really important when you go to get a job. So even if you feel like it's not within your field, the skills you gain from it will be very useful in the future. Yeah, so it's a lot of transferable skills, teaching, mentoring, patience, like all these are transferable skills you can take anywhere with you. So this was just something that I thought would be quite relevant. So only 4% of graduates actually get into graduate schemes. So if you don't get into one, then don't feel let down. There are other options. And Yeah. A lot of people, once they graduate and they can't find jobs, they think that their biggest problem is that they don't have enough experience. And that's usually true because it's really hard to put yourself across to the employer when you're in interviews, when you don't have experiences to talk about. So try and gain as much experiences as you can. And it says 60% of inspiring intern roles lead to permanent graduate jobs, which is what I was saying earlier. So if you get an internship, you're more likely to get a job. Yeah.
So thank you, Jinan. So I think one thing to take from that is that transferable skills are really key to when you're applying for any role. So those are your core, right? Your transferable skills are your core. It's just like, you know, how in Dean it's your... It's just the same thing. Like, you have your core values that you use wherever you go. And those are your core skills. Wherever job you're applying to, those core skills are relevant. And whatever job you apply to doesn't have, even if it's not in the same industry, or even if it is, but it's a different field completely, you can use those skills to apply to that job. So just keep that in mind as well. So what are the highest paid apprenticeships in the UK? So remember, this is what you get, and you're a student. You're not, well, you're working, but you've just finished school. So you're getting around 21k if you're going into banking and finance. So it's around 16 to 21k, I guess, depending on the industry. But those are the salaries you get per year annually. But that's before tax. So those are the top 10 apprenticeship. And then you've got the top 10 paying jobs. So obviously CEOs get the most money, and we know that. After those come the legal professionals. You've got the marketing and sales directors. You've got the brokers. You've got the advertising and public relations. You've got the medical practitioners. You've got your doctors, obviously. And then you've got financial managers, information technology and telecom directors, and then senior professionals of educational establishments. And I love how train drivers come out at number 10, and they're striking every other day. Amazing. Anyway, so you've seen all the different paying jobs, and it's not all about the money. So I think everyone chases the money, but it's not all about that. In the end of the day, you have a sense of wanting to give back to your community. If it was all about the money, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be just sitting down working all day and getting more money. But just to tell you, it's to see this graph here, it's about your quality of life as well. So depending on your job, are you happy? You know, are you getting that satisfaction? Are you getting the motivation out of your job? Just because you have a high-paying job, maybe you're not getting all those different elements that you need to continue your job. Just because you love doing something, it doesn't mean you're getting the motivation out of it. It's a two-way stream with your company or with wherever you're working. So this is basically the mean score by occupation and their life satisfaction. So if you can see, I guess the best ones are the clergies, and those are the ones, the religious ones. So they have the best quality of life. They're not paying that much. If you see the pay, it's towards the bottom. They've got the aircraft, so the pilots are getting paid the most here, but they're not getting the best quality of life, right? So they're on number 8. Yeah, so that's the different jobs and their quality of life depending on how much they're getting paid.
So it should all be sheikhs.
So it all should be sheikhs, yeah. So let's just recap. What is it that you need to do? You need to understand your strengths. So what skills you have relevant and what kind of career you want to go into. Then you have to pick your career. So pick the type, what is it you want to study? And remember, it's not the end of the world. If you've picked one thing, it doesn't mean you're going to be stuck with it forever. You've got those transferable skills, remember. And then choose your path, and then you begin your career. So your career begins way before you actually begin your career and you begin your job role. And another thing to keep in mind that careers are jungle gyms, they're not a ladder. So when you start your career, it's not going to be always upwards. And to give you an example, mine was always upwards until now. I kind of moved within the role. So I've moved from being highly technical to to sales within my organization. So I've moved, I've just taken all my transferable skills and applied them somewhere else. It's still highly technical, but I'm not doing all the stuff I used to do, 2 years ago, for example. And that's just because that's what fits my situation at the moment. So every time you come to apply, you're in a different situation and you want to find something that fits your situation. So you have to be accepting of change, adapt easily, and don't think you're stuck once you're, not sure what's happening. There's always another way. So we have more resources that can help you. So you can see the graduate outcomes for all subjects by university. We can send these slides across, and it shows you the different tables, the highest paying jobs. There's all these different resources online that you can use to help you with your career. And then we can send all these links out. So I'm going to open the floor up to questions, and we can take it from there.
Just before we take the questions, I just want to say one thing. And I think talking about careers is also aimed at parents as well, because parents also play such an important role in what career decisions their child makes. And I've worked in a school, and the school that I worked in is like mainly Iraqi community. But something that's always saddens me is when I see students that want to do a specific thing and their parents want them to do something else. So with the Iraqi community, it's like lawyer, doctor. If you can't become a doctor, become a pharmacist. That's like second best. And then like sometimes I work with students and they want to, sometimes I work with students and they want, like, I work with a student that wanted to be like a fashion designer, but her dad wanted her to go into law. And the thing with this is that if you encourage your child to do what they're passionate about, when they grow up, they're going to be the best in that field. That's when they're going to do the best. That's when they're going to be the best. And then you will be proud of them. Whereas if they're forced to go into another career path that they're not even interested in, it's not going to have good results. And this is something that, whenever I get a chance to speak to parents, I always tell them this, right? And so I just wanted to say that. And if any parents want to make any comments about this, please do. Obviously, a parent can advise, You have to keep it real, though. So you can be passionate about being something, but it might not give you income at the end of the day. So you have to have a balance, right? So your parents should guide you in that sense, but not force you to do that. So there has to be a balance. Yeah. So if any parents also want to give any feedback or comments or questions, please do as well. So we're going to open the floor for questions. If anyone,
Thank you both. Thank you, Zahra. Thank you, Jinan. Thank you for the very lovely lecture. We enjoyed it very much. But what about the crisis at the moment and the jobless people? And what is the effect on the student that they are studying at the moment? At the same time, their parents, they are corrupt or bankrupt. They don't have enough money to complete their study. At the same time, with the economic crisis, we found very lovely lecture, but in the reality, it is not the same.
I mean, there are a lot of people working, right? I'm working, Jinan's working, so there are examples out there. Just because there's an economic crisis, there are still jobs out there. Companies still need people to work, so there's always going to be vacancies. As I said, there's a skills gap in the industry, so there's not enough people or not enough talent out there to fill those gaps. So there are a lot of gaps in the industry, and we need people to focus on the right talent. So you need to go and do your research and get into something that will get you a job and something that you like. So that's why we're here today, to give those tips. And so that you don't end up in somewhere that you can't find a job. So there are jobs out there. Even with an economic crisis, there's always jobs. It just depends where the high jobs or high-paying jobs are at that moment. But there's a lot of jobs out there, even with the economic crisis.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, when I first graduated, there was literally no jobs in science. I really struggled to find a job in science. So I went into SEN learning support, which gave me a lot of skills. So even if you don't find a job in your field, you will find a job, and it's using that job to take you further in life. And then COVID happened, and that was like, although it was really sad and lots of people were affected by it, it was really useful for me because that helped me get a job within science, because scientists were needed during the pandemic, and that gave me the skills for the job I have today, which is going down the route I wanted originally. So even if you can't find a job in your field, do something, and that will help you in the future.
Thank you so much for the wonderful experience that you have shared with us. I just wanted to say something about the importance sometimes of getting into something, I would say like top-ranked universities. They could be super difficult to get, and they could be, you're gonna fight for the seat, but it's a fight that you should really consider taking, especially if you have that option. How much would you encourage young students to fight for the best seats at the best universities? That's my question. Thank you.
You take that.
100%, I agree with you. The better, if you can get into the better universities, that is so good. I think one thing that, I feel like it requires motivation, and that's the thing that sometimes our youth are lacking, the motivation. So I know there are many students that we see that have potential, but they're not bothered to revise. And I feel like this is a limiting factor, and maybe we need to work on motivating our younger generation as well. I think that's something really important. Yeah, that's something that's from my experience, is that when I was growing up, I wasn't motivated, and I went to a school where people, like my friends, didn't revise, and I was like around that kind of environment. And then something happened. We moved to Bahrain for a year, and then I saw my potential. And then when we came back, I was really into revision and like studies and everything. And that's when I really became motivated. I had this intrinsic motivation. I just wanted to do really well because I felt that I can do it. So sometimes it's that, sometimes the youth feel like maybe they feel like they can't do it, or they don't know how to revise. So I feel like it's also about empowering our youth as well, and teaching them, revision techniques, encouraging them. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the young generation have the potential, but they just don't reach it. What do you guys think? Yeah.
I was going to say, so before I went to university, I thought going to a high-ranking university was really important. So I worked really hard, and then I got into UCL, which is considered like a high-ranking university. And after I graduated, I realized that going to a really well-known university is not that as important as having the experience. So if you're in a high-ranking university, but you're not working, like you're not getting experience along with that, then it's not that useful to employers. So my employer the other day just told me, you've got UCL written on your CV, and it's more important than the degree you did. So it's above the degree I did. He was like, once you graduate, no one cares what university you went to. He was like, take it off. Like, it means you're more proud of going to UCL than the degree you have, and the degree is a lot more important than the university. But I also wanted to add that going to a well-known university gives you a lot more opportunity within the university. So in UCL, we were able to start a volunteering society. And because of the funding UCL has, it makes it a lot easier for students to do things like that. So we started a volunteering society called Art Without a Home, where we did art workshops for people who are affected by homelessness. Other universities wouldn't have the funding to allow this to happen, but these big universities, they can fund you to do the things you believe in and things that will help society. So in that sense, it's good, but you have to take advantage of the resources you have at these universities.
One more thing just to add, I didn't go to a top-ranking university, and it didn't affect, it really depends on your motivation and what you want to do. So I knew what I wanted to do when I got into university, and that's what I worked towards. So I started to do like professional certifications on the side. So I did Cisco certifications because I knew I wanted to work as a network engineer. So it's about what you want to do when you're in university. It's not about which university you went to. And I work with so many people in my company that have law degrees, that have oil mechanics, I don't know what degrees, and now they're doing nothing with those degrees. They're actually in a technical job. So it depends on the industry you're going into as well. So some industries really need to see your skills and really need to see your experience. And that's what I worked on to get my job. It wasn't, I always tell people it's not my university degree that got me my job, but it's my effort that I put into it. Yes.
Very quickly, just the dilemma between the family and the children, yani the youngster. Who should make the decision on the path of their career? And this is the problem we face in all the communities, okay? I'm not, but most of families are forcing children to decide in particular things, especially doctors, nurses, let's do that. From your own experience, who should make the decision? It's very important, and be courageous to say it. Thank you.
I would say mentor. I would say that what they're interested in, and see someone in the community that matches those skills and let them talk to them. Like if we can match people and have mentors that can speak to the children or the youth, and they can advise them in that journey. We have people from different skills, different job sectors, different industries, different companies. Just mentor them up. I mean, what's the point of our community if we can't help each other, right? So I think if you get someone to talk to that person, tell them their experience, and then see if that path will be right for them, not for them to decide. Then in the end, it will be between the parent and the child.
I agree with that, and I think the child's opinion really matters. But I think, like Faha mentioned before, sometimes the child doesn't always know what's best for them, and sometimes they may not make that wise decision. Yeah. So it's about finding the right guide to help them make that decision. But the child should never ever feel like they're forced to go to do something they don't want to do. I feel like that's just the worst thing. And I think, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. I was going to add my personal experience. So my parents were very like, you pick what you want to do, whatever you are interested in, like especially my dad. He was like, whatever you enjoyed, go for it. So, which was very useful for me. But I'm going to talk about my sister Abrar. Hopefully she doesn't mind. But she really wanted to be a fashion, I think she wanted to do design or something. And my mum was like, you're not going to get a job with that, you're not doing it. And my mum was like, you really like kids, midwifery would really fit with your character. And because my mum knows us very well, her advice, Abrar took it, and she was like, yeah, maybe midwifery is the place I should go. And now she really loves her job. So I think it has to be a mixture of both. Like your parents should advise you but never force you. So my mum advised Abrar that she should go into midwifery, and Abrar likes the idea, so she went into it. So I think it has to be like your parents should not force you but should advise you. And at the end of the day, your parents know you best, so hopefully their advice will be useful.
I think a lot of the time, I want to actually add to Zahra's point where she said that sometimes there's a lot of pressure at such a young age to choose what you want to do. Yeah. But in my personal experience, I felt like I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I didn't have this idea that in the future I wanted to do this. Maybe I had like social, pressures to say, okay, I want to go through this field. But actually, like I knew, for example, I enjoyed maths, so I knew I enjoyed the topic area, and just one thing came after another. So because I had in my mind this is the topic that I enjoy, I took it for A levels, and then for university I took it was more of a career path kind of degree. And what I found is actually passion grows a lot of the time, and that might be the case for quite a few people. So instead of having sometimes a job that you want to do, which a lot of the time you need experience to find out if you actually enjoy it or not, you can trial out a lot of things. Now, one other thing I would mention is that I found it really difficult to find work experience. Yeah. For example, if I wanted to do dentistry, for example, it took me like links and people that we know in the community to actually get a placement in dentistry. And maybe that's just out of my luck, and a lot of people don't actually have that. So trying out all these stuff is sometimes not as practical. But I'd say it's not the end of the world, because like I said, I took a career-based degree, and I didn't even end up doing that degree. During that career, although I actually enjoyed the degree that I did, but I ended up in something else, and I also realised that passion also grows as you get trained more, as you see whether you enjoy it or not.
Yeah, that's my experience. Yeah, that's my experience as well. Actually, I never, when in college, I didn't know what I wanted to be, and I went with the flow. And then, and then I did my undergraduate, and then that led to my master's. And then you slowly focus, and then for me, I felt like Allah was kind of guiding me and showing me the way I should go down, just because of the opportunities that were coming to me. So, yeah, that's my experience as well. Do you guys have any? I think that. Yeah, I think Zainab had a question.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to ask. So, would you advise that you pick your career path based on what you want or what is generally wanted as a job? Yeah.
I would say look at your skills. Look at what the world needs today. What is it that they need? I mean, technology is taking over everything, today. So coding is required in every single company, whether it's finance, sales, whatever it is, coding is required. So look at things that are required now and in the next 5 to 10 years or 20 years, and skills that could match that. Just because you might not be good in a certain area, so maybe you say, I'm not good in programming, you could be creative and you like to draw. You can get into gaming, you can draw for gaming. You don't have to actually code for gaming, if that makes sense. So there's other places within technology that can give you an opportunity. It's just what you want to, what you're good at, right? What are you good at, and what the world needs as well. You need to ensure that you're going to get paid in the end. You don't want to do something like that's not going to give you money. There's no point. So just keep it real. And so that's why I'm saying research.
How are you meant to get work experience in secondary school?
There's internships for people in year 10, year 11, year 12. There are a lot of internships at that point. Yeah, you can speak. Schools usually do it, right? And their schools usually do it. Schools usually offer internships that allow you to go into different companies, and also ask people like us.
I think one of the easiest ways, quickest way, is probably to ask people around that have particular careers that interest you, and then maybe they can let you, shadow them for a day or something.
Like your parents, friends.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah. About the CV.
Yes.
Do you think the youth and so many young and adults, they need to know how to make their CV?
Yeah.
And what do you think about the CV? You never talk about it.
Yeah, because it's quite a long. So the CVs probably needs a workshop by itself. So I didn't want to talk about it today. But we can, if you want help with CVs, then contact me directly, and I can help.
We need as you are expert in these things, I think if you can't do it, make a workshop for it.
Yeah. Okay. We can do a CV feedback workshop. Personal statement. That's your sister's job. I'm not good in personal statements.
Thank you. As a community here in London, a Bahraini community, we haven't seen someone talented and become a millionaire, let's say. And
inshallah, we're getting there.
Maybe they didn't say.
Because and it's just to make a joke anyway. But I've seen in my life, I've graduated and I have 2 lesser certificates, but the path I'm taking it now, it is different, totally different than what it is in my let's say study. So it depends what you, either to know what you want from early time, or you will end at my age that I am talented or I like to do such and such after become old. So what is a good advice for the youngest here to at least to focus, or to what they should do.
It's a journey, it never ends. So you just learn and develop. If you don't like something, move on to another job and find what you're good at. It doesn't have to be what your degree is in. Like all my friends, we all did human genetics, and most of them are in like consultants or in like a business or technology. So none of them actually went down the science route, and it doesn't matter because the university degree gives you skills that you can take to other jobs. So whatever you like, go for it. Don't feel like you have to stick to your degree.
I also wanted to mention something, which is there's sometimes some people are really passionate about something, but it won't get them a lot of money, or they won't get, like, it won't be a good paying job. And what I would say about that is you can always do that as a side thing.
Yes,
like,
side hustle.
I have like, for example, friends that they work in one field, and then on the side they're a political analyst or they're something else, you know.
Yeah, it could be a hobby that you can then start. Like, even if you want to do, like, for some people like to do makeup or baking or something, you can do it on the side. And
So this question is for Jinan. You see how you said you were an SCN teacher right after graduation, but did they ask you for like a degree in that first?
No, they just wanted you to have a degree. That's it. As long as you're not a teacher, then you can still work in a school.
She had a degree at that point.
I had a degree. Yeah, I had a degree, but not a teaching degree. But any degree can make you a teacher.
SCN teacher.
SCN. But even normal teacher, you can just do a conversion course. Is that it for everyone?
Did you say that one of the well-paid jobs, customer service or something, facing customers or something?
Front office, customer facing roles.
I don't think it was well paid.
It
Was it well
customer
paid?
facing, not customer
roles that are
service.
needed.
No, which one? The top, the hot.
No, it was the roles that are needed.
This one, you
was
mean?
number 2, not this one.
No,
لو سمحتوا. Excuse me.
This one?
The one before, go back.
It was the roles that are needed in society today. That one.
This one, most employable degree?
Maybe it was the
I remember seeing
maybe it was the
it.
growth.
This
Oh,
one, this
this
one, this
one.
one.
Front office customer facing.
Yeah, this is basically front offices, like in
Yes,
banks and stuff.
my advice to anybody trying to pursue this kind of career is just to avoid it. I mean, the worst jobs ever is when you really need to face this rankling customers face to face with dealing with the members of the public. It's not good.
Front office customer facing can be different. It can mean different things. I'm customer facing today, but I'm not dealing with annoying people. So I'm dealing with top paying customers. So front office is basically in high paying roles.
Marketing.
No, front office is like sales. Sales, yeah. So when you're speaking to top paying customers, yeah. But if you're sales in a highly paid corporate organization, then you're getting paid a lot of money.
The date is a sales, but
But see, it's not customer service in a shop. هذا قصدك؟
Sure, any other
Yeah.
حتى يعني government department or something, they are
صعب.
صعبين بشكل يعني تستجن علشان ما يستاهل. زمان كلمتم بالنسبة إلى شو اسمه sorry to interrupt يعني إذا في واحد يسأل. Never talked about the humanities. Anybody interested in learning or the career of humanities?
No.
Sociology, philosophy, politics, economics, something like that. Anyway, it's not a well paid. It's very difficult. If you are anybody interested, unless they are really think really they are exceptional or talented, then they can take it as a hobby or on the side they learn what they really think they will be successful in their career in the future, and they can learn other subjects, other topics. But don't go for it unless you are really
Yeah, I think so. I did psychology, and with psychology, if you want to qualify as a psychologist, you have to do all the way to PhD if you want to become a psychologist. And so that's why a lot of people who do psychology, they end up like in something else, because it's such a long process, it's such a long journey. So that's something that you need to keep in mind as well.
Same with law as well. well.
Yeah. You have to be really passionate if you want to like
continue
It's
it.
like a medicine, yeah.
What, to become a psychologist?
Yeah.
You could see it that way, maybe.
At the end of the day,
You need to become. You need to be a doctor, yeah, in order to become a psychologist.
Taking it as a clinical psychologist.
No, any branch of psychology. If you want to become a psychologist, occupational psychologist, educational psychologist, you have to do a doctorate. Yeah. We have a last question, yeah.
Yes, so going back to the topic of work experiences, I'm in my GCSE year, and I didn't really understand work experiences. So what are work experiences? How do you perform them? How do they help you in your future life? And how do you get one?
So, I mean, what year are you in?
Year 10.
So, what year do you guys do your work experience in? Because in your school, usually you have work experience, like 2 weeks or 1 week.
I think
Do you
it's...
guys? Is it optional?
Yeah.
Okay. For us, it was compulsory. Did you guys do work experience?
No, I think
as
it's
well?
compulsory in my school. His school is different than to mine. I think it's
Okay.
compulsory in mine.
Okay, so some schools have work experience where you have to do work experience for 1 week. Do you guys want to speak about do you want to speak about how you get work experience in secondary school?
If you ask people in the community, they will usually let you shadow them for a few days, for a week. If not, you can volunteer. That's also considered work experience. If you go anywhere, they will allow you to volunteer. But work experience, it's usually, if you talk to people in the community, they will help you find work experience within the field you want.
What area are you interested in?
Mostly business and engineering. That's it.
Yeah, so find people that work in those fields and learn more about it to see if you're going to be interested in it or not. Work experience helps you decide if that's something that you will enjoy. You get to actually see what it's like working, the whole day, what it's like. 'Cause sometimes we have an idea. Like I know people who are like interested in medicine, for example, and then when they actually tried shadowing a doctor, they're like, okay, this is not for me. Like, it's too much. So that's what work experience allows you to see if it's something that you'll be interested in or not. Yeah. If you have. A club. Like, no, it wouldn't be counted as, no. Like football club or like, no, it wouldn't be counted as an experience. But it's really good because it's extracurricular. And when you're applying for university and you can put in your personal statement that you did all these activities and they like to see that you're
passionate about other things.
Yeah, not just studying, which... Yeah, so... Yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say we should end it with next steps. Maybe someone pair up with someone who's studying. Like mentors. Yeah, maybe we can get
next steps mentor.
Okay. So if anyone has any feedback or any like suggestions for further workshops that we can do, please do let us know. And inshallah we can talk further about how you guys, if the younger generation can find a mentor or someone to guide them as well in particular area of interest. And I think that's about it. Sorry we've taken so long. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your questions. Thank you. Inshallah, we could do another one as well.
Yeah, we should actually go around.
Whose bag is that?
Thank you.